So hello, welcome to a new video. It's Sunday again, and today we are going to ride to a new neighborhood around my city, around Utrecht, and especially around LeidscheRijn. There's two kind of reasons I wanted to do this. A, because I found this neighborhood yesterday. It's still quite gloomy outside. It was raining this morning. It's the middle of winter. But the first reason I wanted to make this, I wouldn't say as a reply, but somebody from Charlotte, North Carolina, made this video for me biking around this area on a South Greenway ride in Charlotte in North Carolina, and it was very nice, and I enjoyed watching it a lot. And I'm pretty sure that the bicycle paths that they made there, I forgot how long it was. I think he rode it in about 45 minutes or so, or something like that. So I'm pretty sure it costs a lot of money to make, and yeah, I want to react to that a little bit. I will do that in the second part of this video, because I think in the first part I want to show you the new neighborhood and make some remarks about that. So another thing, if you are still new here, go to the subtitles part, and what you will find there is two languages. One called Bodo, which shows you things like in the subtitles, if you turn them on, things like how far we are above or below sea level. So you can see now we are a tiny bit below sea level. You see the speed that I'm riding. This is kind of nice. Well, not nice in a way, but I had to stop and the other bike had to stop. Quickly get out of the way. I always feel a little bit uncomfortable because I feel I should not be there, and I have to later in the video again. But if you turn these subtitles on, you will see that where we are and what speed we are going. I sort of hacked that in the subtitles. And you can use that the address to see where we are as best as we can. You might also see that if I put waypoints in there, how far it still is to the waypoint. So I'll put a few in there. You will see what I mean when you see them. So most likely I will put the neighborhood in, and maybe the water area we are going, and maybe the industrial area we are going, just to give you a feeling how that works. You can also go to the other language, which is called Afar, while we are detouring in this park. And the Afar shows you more technical information. So the satellite position we are every 10 seconds or so. So you can even more precisely figure out where we are in Google Maps and use Street View or something else to look around. And it will also give you some technical information about the satellite position and the direction and stuff like that. The last thing I want to say about that topic, as a result, I also fill in the description. So if you go to the description of the video, you'll see all kinds of chapters that you also see now in the timeline. But you also have a button called transcript, and I would urge you to turn that on if you want to have more information, because that kind of brings everything together. You can see different chapters, you can jump to different points, and you can see how far we are of certain points, etc., etc., and click on them and navigate through the video. So yeah, we kind of are in the old area between two neighborhoods, and this was quite an old street, which probably was there for a very long time before the city took over. But we are now turning there into one of the main roads around these neighborhoods, and also has all of the quick buses which go to the Utrecht Central Station. So just to give you an idea about speed, so if you would get on the bus here, I would guess that it would be about 10 minutes before you make it to Central Station, and then maybe you're in the biggest central train station in the Netherlands, and it would take you like a half an hour to go to Amsterdam. So theoretically from here, if you're lucky and the connections are right, you could be in Amsterdam without a car within an hour. So yeah, the second thing we want to play with today, is more for myself, and maybe you can also provide some feedback, is the audio. So for example, the audio on something like we are biking now, I think is still quite bad. I'm not happy with it, and I'm also going to play around with moving my voice over about 5 seconds before the real time, if that makes sense. So if I notice when I'm talking about something that I talk about it, let's say about this car, that by the time that you hear me say it, and the car's already gone and you can't really see it. So that sort of does not help. So for example, if you want to say, hey, I didn't notice these new homes here, which I didn't notice. I saw them from the other side, but it never hit on me. They're all totally new and quite many of them. By the time I start talking about it, the video is already way past it, so I will try to figure out what happens if we add about 5 seconds delay there. Is that confusing or not? So I might also somewhere let you hear a little bit of audio of the original, and then what happens after I edited it, so you can hear the difference. There's a nice little park here. And we are slowly going to the new area. Again, you see these farms were already there. Some of them have been changed into newer sort of setups. But I noticed a while ago that there's a small path here, and I'm using commute to route myself, which is not normal for me. And it sometimes sends you in things which I don't feel are bicycle paths. So in this case, it's a good example. So the downside is that I have to weave myself through this, and also I don't feel overly comfortable riding here. But the good side is, even on this gloomy day, that you can see that the flowers are already coming up, though it's still very much winter in the Netherlands. I would not guess it, but it is. So that's good, I guess, in a way. But I feel kind of uncomfortable riding here, and you can see on the Google or the helicopter view that actually this part is so new that it's not even on there. And there's also some structure at the end which I have no idea what it is. It's not in the helicopter view, so again it can't be that old. I will look it up. I know you can walk in part of it, but this first part, the circle, I don't think you can walk in it, so I'm wondering what it is. Though I do see a stair going up, so maybe you can walk in there. Again, this is a moment where I feel quite uncomfortable, and I'm also slowing down extremely a lot. My excuse is that it gives us nice video, and that commute did it. You see the playground. This is kind of typical for these new neighborhoods, that there's always water around, which is kind of a thing in the Netherlands. So they have many of these small bridges, which are, I think, quite fun. Yeah, there's this play areas, and he was also turning around. I guess they figured they walked enough. So now we are going into the new area, which is called, or we already was skirting on it, which is called Rijnvliet. And yeah, there's about 1,800 people living here, and they all moved here in the last few years, or at least most of them moved here in the last few years. And yeah, that's what I want to show you. You can see there's quite a lot of cars. Notice that there are no bicycle paths, right? So the whole structure is built that bicycles are okay, and basically the whole thing turns into a common road sort of concept. So you see there are a few things that are built in that makes it okay to bicycle. There's no way to stop us in the Netherlands anyway, but you can see that they're using cobblestones and not the bicycle asphalt. You can see that they're using speed bumps. And for the cars, this is a kangaroo. I also put a link in there. Since we were seeing quite a lot of these kangaroo sort of bicycles on our rides, and I point them out sometimes, I will link to a video of what they are. They're basically a neighborhood rental bakfietsen, so cargo bikes. And we see more and more people getting them and taking them out for a spin. Again, see small play area, some green, some water. Again, we talked about this yesterday, I think, about why it's so important that kids learn to bicycle and learn to swim, and especially in combination, because you will end up at some point probably in the water and we don't want you to drown. So yeah, even if you learn to swim and you have to get your diploma for it, one of the things you need to be able to do is swim with your clothes on. So we are circling a little bit through this neighborhood, and you see the different styles of homes. Some detached, some 2 floors, some 3 or 4 floors. This area I think is not higher than 2 floors, although I see in the helicopter view some 3 stories. Again, the website that I found this afternoon, I will also link it in the description. Tells you a lot about each neighborhood, and it gives information about neighborhoods in Germany and in the Netherlands. And I was kind of surprised by it. So I will link it. It tells you how many people live here, how many got divorced, how many kids, how much crime, stuff like that. I found it quite interesting. So you can see that when we get back to about the cars, that there's no specific bicycle infrastructure here, except for going in and out of the neighborhood. But you do see that the cars are all they are in front of their homes, but they're also in these special areas. And as a result, as they are not on the road, that means that the road becomes smaller, if that makes sense. And you see that quite a lot. So even if we go into the street, you can see that they all have their all sort of areas where they can park in, but they're not really part of the roads. Like you see here, clear, right? There's lots of cars, but if there are no cars, you can't drive there. It's not that you go faster because the street is wider. So, and these speed bumps, of course, help. Also noticed, and I tried to do that a few times. Not sure if you can see that in the video. But they're on the side of the speed bumps. They are a little bit more shallow, or they're, and I figured I was trying to do it here. I was going the wrong way. Because I did want to follow the route planner. But if you go over a speed bump, you will notice that the sides are not that high. And that means that if you're on a bike, you can kind of avoid the speed bump. And that's for that reason. You can see it clearly here. That on the sides they are hardly a speed bump, so they can go faster with your bike. Again, typical sort of small areas with greenery for kids to play, so a common playground. And here you see a little bit a bigger one on the edge of the area. You don't see any front gardens. Well, maybe sometimes small one where you can put your bike, like you see here a lot. Or maybe you could put a chair there and sit outside. You don't see it much in the Google or helicopter view, although you see already part of that being built, is that most of these homes will have a back garden, an internal back garden, mostly aimed at each other, so not on the roadside, if that makes sense. If there are bigger complexes, there will be a whole area in the complex with some greenery and a sort of a shared garden. But most homes will have their private garden in the back of the home. And here is a good example of this road really forces a car driver and even bikes, you can see me avoiding the speed bump, not to go fast, because the road looks really small, because the rest of the road is where the cars are parked, is kind of designed in a way that even if there's no cars, that you can't drive there, so you can't speed up. I kind of like these newer areas more than the area that I live myself, in Parkwijk, because I think there's way more different house types here. I go back because I figured this was interesting. Look, there's a speed device. It's checking how fast I'm going with the bike. So I'm going over it again. And the car was looking quite weird at me, because it's a temporary box. So probably somebody complained that in this entrance drivers are going too fast. And I'm guessing that the city placed this temporary speed measuring device there and the direction. So there's 2 wires on the ground, so that they can figure out which direction you are going and which speed, and probably also if it's a car or a bicycle, would be my guess, because of the weight or the number of wheels. And they are taking that as input to make changes. Now, this is a good example. We are now in the middle of this neighborhood, and you see that they did put a red asphalt bicycle path here. And you'll notice already that I'm probably speeding up. Yeah, I'm going 23 kilometers an hour, probably speeding up to 25 kilometers an hour. And so there's these subtle sort of hints about how they are controlling the speed. Of course, the other part of the infrastructure that you are not seeing is basically our history, right? Everybody has been trained to respect these, not because we are nice, but it's sort of ingrained because we have kids on bicycles. We have been bicycling most of our lives, especially if you're below 50. So it's become second nature, and it's really, I guess, difficult to copy in other countries. I stop here because he was making a remark that a lot of people allow you to look inside the windows. So when he was talking about this on his ride, which was a really nice ride on the greenway, it took about an hour, and I'm pretty sure that that biker path that was built about 6 months ago, he told us, cost a lot of money and probably the same amount that we are spending on a good bicycle path in semi-nature, right? So something like we are all going on now a bit. It was lovely. I would love to bike there. But one question I had is how does that connect up to the different neighborhoods? And one thing I'm wondering about is, yes, in the 1970s as a country we took some decisions to get away from cars, or at least get away sounds very aggressive, but to give the same amount of attention to other ways of moving about. So public transport, which was already big, but they made it even bigger, the bicycles and walking, and that's what we have seen in the last 50 years. But I was also wondering, if you just look at the size of the country as America, for example, that even if you want to go for some of these ideas, you are not forced into it, because not everything is so close. So we now have left the neighborhood, and you can see there's a nice water area nearby, and on the left side you see a lot of sport facilities, horses, tennis, soccer, and a few other things. And on the right side you see again a man-made lake, again with a small beach. You can see it in a helicopter view. So it's all walkable, and at least, or you see the bike wooden bike things over here, at least bikeable, and very close to that neighborhood. And on the other side, in this the industry area I was talking about, and then I will talk a little bit more about what I was thinking about with the different neighborhoods compared here today, because we see too much on the road again. So there are a few people out, and the guy with the wheelbarrow thingy, he's a fisher, so he's going to fish. You see that he has a lot of equipment. I'm pretty sure probably a few hundred meters he's going to pour it all out and create his fishing setup. This is a really nice dog. So looking at me. And kids on bike. I have to slow down again. And speed up. So, and you can see we are definitely in a suburban sort of area. We've been on this path before. So it was really on the edge of town, and it might grow a bit more, not sure. But when I was looking at this video about this really nice greenway, is how many neighborhoods does it actually connect? The reason I was asking is that I think that's probably the way that it kind of works in the Netherlands, simply because everything is so close together, right? So if you're talking about the four major cities, so Amsterdam, Utrecht, Rotterdam and The Hague, They also call it the Randstad, so there's basically already hinted it's going to be, it is kind of a big city with about 5 million people. And the bike paths are going in between basically different neighborhoods, small villages and cities, all between these 4 big cities. I'm just talking about the Randstad, of course. In the rest of the Netherlands it's kind of similar but slightly different in a way, because the Randstad is a bit more clustered in many ways. So it kind of forces people to move between these different areas for work, for school and stuff like that. And I think it kind of makes sense that we have good bicycle paths between them, because we can. And I'm not sure if in America, of course, if you take an old city or you build your city from the beginning to be closely knitted together by neighborhoods which are on the edges of the town, and you let it grow like that, that kind of would have worked. But with the way that there's so much space in America, it was so easy to go out 5 kilometers outside of the city and then create a neighborhood, which was probably back then in a nice piece of nature, and you felt sort of attached to the city but not attached to the city if you use your car. Yeah, that kind of works, and I'm not sure if you can change that back now as easily. But I am wondering what happens if you use these green ways and the trails, the rails to trails projects to weave together the different areas. So that kids, let's say between 12 and 16, could they actually use these greenways to bike to other neighborhoods, visit friends and get some freedom with them. Now they're allowed to do that. So this is typical sort of industry area. You also notice that there are kind of no bike paths, but there are bike paths. And what I mean with that is that I have to guess, but I would not be surprised that about 1 in 3, maybe a little bit more, of the people working here will be coming by bicycle from either the city, or they would have a bicycle at one of the train stations and they come in like that. Again, that does not mean that we don't use cars. In fact, the Netherlands is, I think, per square kilometer the biggest car owner of Europe. So we are not against cars. But you can see there's a bicycle path, but I didn't like it because I had a bump. And I mean, and I'm guessing most people will just be driving here. Of course, it's a Sunday, so this is good if you want a speed bike, because there's nobody here. I'm guessing that on normal weekdays that there will be a lot of trucks or more trucks and delivery vans over here. So it might be a little bit more dangerous. But on a Sunday, I would rather just ride on the asphalt. And you can see this is quite a big area. It was already kind of there, so they are now sort of building a few different residential neighborhoods next to it. And you can see how, in my opinion, well they did the job is that it looks quite nice in that neighborhood. Well, this is sort of typical structure. Although this was quite nice. I slowed down because I kind of liked all these big machines just sort of standing there, almost like an art project, waiting to turn on. But you can see on the helicopter view that I'm not using it, but there's a bicycle path into this area and out of this area, which kind of proves my point about the access to these types of areas, also by bicycle. I also think when I was watching this video that they really should make these bicycle paths, greenways in America red. It will never happen, but my logic is quite simple. I think it would be nice that if you see these green ways and these trails made red in the way that a lot of our bicycle paths are, is that once you connect them up in the different neighborhoods, I can imagine that over time, let's say the next 20, 30 years, it will be fun to see sort of the red growing slowly in different directions. I even like that in the Netherlands, right? If you are bicycling and you see all these red sort of pathways popping up over the different decades, it's kind of a nice sort of feeling about that something is growing and something is taking over and that something is being integrated. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but it's sort of the gut feeling that I had when I was watching it. It has practical reasons why the red is handy and interesting. We talked about that before. It's a visual hint to the car drivers, but also to the bicycles themselves, where they need to go. And my eyes are always scanning for it. And if you ask a Dutch person, it's almost becomes second nature to already look ahead where the red area is. So I think it has practical sense, but it also, I think it's quite fun. So let's take this part to test the audio. I will let you hear what the original audio is. And I will also, after the bridge, so I'll turn it back. Now I've turned it back to the normal one, and after the bridge I will let you hear what it sounds like once I fixed it, but like I said, I'm still not happy about it. So you can clearly hear that one of the problems I have is there's a lot of noise and today is also a lot of water noise because it has been raining, so that the tires make a little bit of this high pitched noise. But you can also hear my bicycle quite a lot because I have to sort of take out all the lower noise of the audio and sort of boost the higher noise. I think it's getting better, but I'm still quite unhappy about it. So we're getting back to normal territory for me, because this is my part of my daily sort of look. Except that I was following the route planner, so the commute thing, and it sent me, in my opinion, in a stupid way, but I followed it anyway in the last part. Because at least then you see something different. So maybe another month, then we'll slowly get more sunny days, hopefully. So normally I would go to the right, but it tells me you have to go to the left. I don't think it made sense, but... Again, the green bikes are rental bikes, but in this case not the bakfiets type. And they're also electric bikes. Which surprisingly in the Netherlands, the bakfiets are doing quite well. The other ones are, I would say, on average doing a little bit less because so many people already have a bike. Now, or they use the OV fiets, so the fiets from the train station. That rental bikes are a mixed sort of success or failure in the Netherlands. Compared to some other European cities. Or even American cities. I know in New York, for example, they are very popular. So hopefully I answered some questions. I kind of forgot what I talked about in the last half an hour. But if there's questions left, put them in the comments. Again, thanks for making the video. I will link it for sure in the description. It was fun to watch. And it does, I know some Dutch people sound arrogant when they are talking about their own bicycle infrastructure, because we like to show it off in a way and be surprised ourselves, because 50% of people watching these types of videos are Dutch people. But in a way, we are not coming from a bad place. We would love to see America and other countries adopt our way of thinking about bicycles. But we also have to be fair and ponder about, okay, is it weird that it really happened this way in the Netherlands? Could it be easily copied in other places? I think so, but I also do think that the fact that everything is so dense and infrastructure is so necessary but also easy to build, if that makes sense. Necessary because if we don't do it in a structured way, then we can't live with 17 million people in the Netherlands. But easy in a way that everything is close together, right? In this area we are in now, and I'm pretty sure in most of the Utrecht, we can quite easily get a 1 gigabit up and 1 gigabit down internet connection. Or it's quite normal that there are buses and there are hospitals very close by. And there's great bike infrastructure, because per square kilometer it's easier to build this infrastructure. It's easier to tax for it, which of course we do. We pay a lot of taxes. But it also makes sense simply because everything is closer together. Anyway, this was today's video. Hopefully for some of the next one the sun will come out. Bye bye. Zwaai zwaai. We should start doing that. Bye bye. Zwaai zwaai.